Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Allison and you can find me on Instagram at A Devotional Heart. I am a Christian life coach for women and I work specifically with femininity, relationships, health, and creativity. And today I have a beautiful Orthodox woman that I met on Instagram. She agreed to be my guest and as you know, most of my guests are Orthodox Christians, and I learned so much from them, being that I'm brand new to the faith. I'm a catechumen. I am not baptized yet. So I like to have my guests discuss how they became Orthodox, what they love about the faith, and then anything else that is meaningful to them that they can share with the audience. So everybody, welcome Amanda Brown. Amanda, how are you? Thank you for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
So,
Go ahead.
no, I just wanted to say that your Instagram grid is so beautiful and your style, your just the way you share about your family and your faith. And then I learned that you're a photographer, so that helps too. But, not just visually, but there's really something that captivates somebody who comes to your Instagram page. And I know a big part of that has to do with your faith. And then I watched your YouTube videos, and that really shines through in those videos as well. So first, I just want to recognize that about you. And do you want to share about how you came to be Orthodox?
Yeah, of course. Well, first off, thank you for that little introduction. And so if you guys have never heard my story yet, I, let's see, my husband and I planted a church in 2012. We grew up in the evangelical church. And we had this great opportunity to move up to where we live now in northern Colorado. And so, yeah, we were really excited. We jumped in right away. And my husband grew up as a pastor's kid. I just want to preface it with that because it's kind of important to the story. And so he had this really deep longing to figure out more. I was actually okay in the evangelical church. I have come to know that I didn't fully, I guess, agree with what was being taught at the evangelical church we were at. But I just didn't know what I didn't know. So my husband started looking into all sorts of older religions and all these things. We didn't know about the Orthodox Church at all. We had honestly never even heard about it. And I think he watched some documentary on YouTube called The First 1,000 Years or something like that. And it talked about the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church. So he, decided to go meet with our now priest and was very excited about the church and started digging in and meeting with him and going to services. And I was like, whoa, let's put the brakes on. This is a little weird. And at that point, he basically told me I don't want to be in the evangelical church anymore. So I really thought our marriage was going to fall apart. Laugh about this story.
And
It's
you
still
were
so
you were
dramatic.
trying to adopt a child at this time, right? International.
Yeah, so that was another thing that was happening along the same timeline, that we were struggling with infertility, and so we had to decided that we were going to do an international adoption. And we were adopting out of Bulgaria. So the girl that we were learning Bulgarian from, she was a high school student in Bulgaria, and we were trading English lessons for Bulgarian lessons. And my husband was like, oh, are you Christian? She's like, yeah, I'm Orthodox. And he's like, I don't know what that is. So that happened around the same time that he had watched that documentary. And so it was kind of I don't know, the doors opening to Orthodoxy and discovering this whole new religion that we didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, then he slowly started the process of becoming a catechumen. And I was by the time I started coming, I had found out that I was pregnant. with our now oldest child. So that also was kind of putting the brakes on a little bit, just because there's so much change happening. But Father Evan was so loving with my journey, and he answered every question I had. My first question was, what's the big deal about Mary? And he's like, well, before we get to that, he sat down and he drew out my family tree. And he really took the time to like get to know who I was. And I think that was really important for me to see like the difference of like a priest versus, you know, where we had come from in the evangelical world, where we're one of a few thousand people in the crowd. And in the Orthodox Church, you know, your spiritual father is really like a father. And he was very loving and kind and patient. And no question was like off limits.
Yeah,
So
I've noticed that too.
yeah. I've since learned that our parish is mostly converts. And so he always tells everybody now that he's well equipped to answer the Protestant questions because of all the training he's had from all of us converts. But yeah, it was just a really quick but hard journey, because I felt like I was really against orthodoxy, really against the change. I didn't understand the icons. I didn't understand the incense, and it made me sick because I was also pregnant. And like I said, I was happy where I was at. And so I was really confused as to why my husband was dragging us away from that. But as soon as I had spent some time in the Orthodox Church, and we had our son, and so I was kind of like, well, I'm not going to go back to our evangelical church. I'm just going to spend a few Sundays here because I can't do both services anymore. And then I went back to our evangelical church, and it felt so empty. It felt dead. And I realized at that moment that I was ready to be baptized. And so we scheduled our baptism, and the rest is history.
So this was about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago or so.
We were baptized, yeah, in May of 2015. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah.
And then how did your family or your friends, what did they think? Because they probably were like, why in the world would you become Orthodox? How did you go about explaining your conversion to them?
Yeah. So, our family took it really hard. I think at first, partially, you know, the same reaction that I did. They didn't understand a lot of it. And they still don't, but they're kind of willing to kind of let things slide. We just don't bring up a lot of religious topics anymore, or discussions. We can kind of agree to disagree. We're both Christian. We both believe in Jesus, and that's about as deep as we're willing to go on that. And I think that, you know, I pray one day that they'll at least be willing to open their hearts. Not that they haven't, but I think that it's still just really hard for them to understand where we are. And then our friends, honestly, the sad thing is we lost almost all of our friends through that journey. We thought we had a really, really great close friend group. And it was like the longer we spent in the church, within the first 2 years, all of them were gone, and we haven't talked to them since.
Oh, wow.
It was a hard journey.
But I'm sure you've made a lot of new friends in your new
Yeah,
church.
that's actually a really funny thing, is that because I felt like I had such a great group at our old church when we were coming into the Orthodox Church, there's so many young couples our age, and they were all starting to have kids, and I was pregnant, and I was like, I don't want to be friends with any of these people, because I think deep down I knew, like, if I become friends with them, then, you know, the rest is history.
Yeah.
And our friend group is just amazing. We are so blessed to have so many young families in the church that are in the same stage of life as us. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I love how the children are part of the liturgy too. And
mhm.
even when they are fussy or, I just love it. I love having them there running around, or, I mean, they don't run around like crazy, but
Yeah.
once in a while, one of them will run, she'll see her grandfather or something. And just the joy that the children bring to
Mm,
the liturgy instead of putting them in Sunday school or something. I just
yeah.
love it.
So we, like I said, our parish is mostly converts. So No, there's not really any families, like as far as like multiple generations of a
Mm.
family being there. And so that's what I noticed as a catechumen. Everybody was always switching babies with their godparents or friends or whatever. And I was like, I can never figure out whose child belongs to who
Yeah.
because they're always with someone else. And it took me forever. And I always laugh now because it's still the same way. Our kids are like, can we go sit with so and so? Can we
Mhm.
go? So they're
Mhm.
always somewhere else or they're looking at the icons.
Yeah.
And a lot of the catechumens are like, so whose kids are whose? We can never figure it out. I love it
Yeah,
though.
same
So
with me because I'm pretty new to my church. I'm still meeting everybody. And yeah, one woman will take several kids at once so that, the other women can have a little break. And then a few minutes later, maybe they'll switch back. And yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
really
like a
cute.
big family service. And I
Yes.
really love that. And I love the fact that the kids get to see the parents like modeling the faith. And
Mhm.
um, my youngest, he's 3, and anybody who's investments or any of the icons, all of them are Jesus. So even if he sees our priest, he's like, "Oh, look, there's Jesus!" And he's so. He saw one of the altar servers the other day at church, and he's like, "I'm waving at Jesus."
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. So speaking of kids, tell me some of the activities and there's a big time of year coming up.
Yeah.
And just, in fact, I see your holiday tree behind you. So tell us a little bit about this time of year.
Okay. So, yeah, I think honestly, all of the major feast days with kids are so much fun. And I learn a lot through them by doing a lot of the activities that I do with my kids. Obviously, I didn't grow up Orthodox, and there's so much that you can learn from, simple activities. One resource that I really love, though, is the Draw Near Designs
Oh, yeah.
children's calendar. They have like little activities already planned out for you in there. So if you're not like a super crafty person, their crafts are super easy. But around the Advent season, it's really fun just to get the kids involved. Doing something similar to like the giving manger idea. Perusia Press just released their cards last year in their Holly and Ivy planner, and they have like great activities for every single day. Um, you can have the Alyssa Bielatich. She created the Welcoming the Christ Child book and ornament set. So we do that with the kids. And it's just like a little nightly reading that we do with them. And I think that there's just like so many different ways that you can get the kids involved.
Mhm.
We have St. Nicholas Day coming up, which is my husband's patron saint, and my kids love St. Nicholas Day. Sometimes they're confused on which one is more important, St. Nicholas Day or Christmas. They love them both.
So
Um,
they get gifts. I mean, what happens on St.
yeah,
Nicholas
so
Day?
St. Nicholas Day, the tradition is to have children set out their shoes either at the door or outside the front door. There's no like right or wrong there. And then the parents can add like little gold chocolate coins and oranges, and usually like a gift, a small gift. So like a book or like a little toy or something. It's not like a huge extravagant thing. But I think that really sets the tone for the season, to remind children like, oh, this is about the season of gifting and giving, and St. Nicholas was a real saint. And it makes the conversation really easy about Santa Claus because, I mean, for us, we have been very truthful to our children about the whole Santa Claus topic. I know that parents go either way. But for us, because we actually have the St. Nicholas in the church, and he's a real person and we can use his life, we can say like, this is why Santa Claus is around the Christmas story and the gifting idea, and try Christ is the true gift. And so I think all of that really just comes together beautifully and allows for the whole Advent season to just be this really beautiful opportunity to talk about Christ being the true gift and about the saints and their real lives, and using that as an example in life.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, as a contrast to this, in your family, you didn't talk about the saints and the martyrs and their lives and what they did for
Mhm.
Christ and for the church. So um it must be, it's just a contrast, right, to how you're now raising your kids to teach them about all of these. I mean, I can't believe how many saints there are and how unique each story is, but yet there's a similar thread through the whole thing, that we have these saints and we have these icons because they teach us how to be more Christ-like with the way they lived their lives. And if I had children, I just think that would be such a beautiful thing to discuss with them. My godmother has 3 boys, and she's always taught them about how these people gave their lives up for the faith and all the things they did. And so I just think that's really special.
Yeah, I mean, part of our conversion story, I always wondered, like, growing up, it was always this thing of like, how were there actually Christians who loved Jesus enough to actually become a martyr? Like, I wanted to be that person. Like, if the opportunity ever happened, or not opportunity, but like ever had to,
Situation.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
situation, thank you. If the situation ever arose, could I actually make that choice? And my family was very into like end times prophecy and all the things. And what is that show called? The like Rapture show. You know what I'm talking about? The like
Mhm.
book series? No?
No, I don't.
Okay. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically this idea based around the rapture. So I was always like worried, like, could I actually choose God if the choice had to be made? And as soon as I learned about the saints and having their real life as examples, and seeing and being able to hear and understand, what their prayer routines look like and their thought processes, and really just how they thought about life in general, it kind of like opened my eyes to be like, oh, because, as a Protestant growing up, we always, I don't know, had this idea that you went to church on Sundays and then you just had to figure it out the rest of the week
Mhm.
and say your prayers at nighttime and stuff. And that was really hard for me to feel like, I don't know if I love God enough. If I could, like, if I had to ever make that decision, could I do it? And I feel like, the saints are just like this really beautiful example of how that actually plays out.
Mhm.
And with the kids, it's so nice. There's so many books on all the saints, and we can actually have these discussions and use their life as an example of how we should be walking our own faith and in our own life. And I think, I don't know, I loved it. Like I said, I'm learning alongside my own kids, and it's
Mhm.
just been a really beautiful journey so far.
That's so beautiful. So speaking of that, I just thought of the Theotokos. Can you share a little bit, maybe for somebody like me who's brand new to the faith? Like you said, like your first question to the father, what's the big deal with Mary? What would you say to someone brand new who asked you that? Like, why do you, and I have the Theotokos right here
It's
behind me,
beautiful.
we all have an icon of her somewhere in our homes. So what would your answer be to someone that asked you why we even care about her?
Well, I have been asked that question
Mm.
actually by several newbie now converts.
Mhm.
And I love Father Evans, like what he said to me. So he said, well, I don't know. Why do you think Mary is a big deal? God did choose her. He didn't choose you. And I don't know why that simple answer like hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like, yeah, he did choose her. And then he went on to explain, that she was the first Christian to accept Christ, and also the relationship that she has with her child, who is obviously Christ. At the time, like I said, I was pregnant with Hudson. And so it was this really beautiful example of, um, you know, I could feel all of my son's kicks in my stomach at the time. And I was falling in love with my son. And as soon as a new mother, I was nursing him and having to care for him and give everything to him. And, the Theotokos had to go through all of the same things with Christ. And then always stood by his side and even watched him as he was crucified on the cross. And to be able to go through that journey, like, wow, she is a very powerful, beautiful mother. And also to think like she's basically the perfect example of a mother, in my opinion, to love her child so selflessly and to know that like his journey here was going to end with the crucifixion and be so difficult. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I really, as soon as we like had that, or I had that realization of like how beautiful her journey was as a mother to Christ. And but like, I think it's easy to like set her aside and be like, oh yeah, Mary, whatever. But no, like she went through all the same journey as a normal mother. And um she just, I don't know. And the fact that I can like reach out to her and like ask her to pray with me and pray alongside me, I do. I actually keep a prayer journal to the Theotokos. So I write all of my prayers down in it, anything to do with marriage or motherhood or anything, just because I feel like I know she's going to be there praying with us.
Oh
So,
my gosh, that's so beautiful. And I know that Protestants have have trouble
mhm,
with this idea because I think they see Catholics as putting her on equal
mhm.
footing with Christ. And I really don't know that much about Catholicism, but I have heard that that's what
Yeah.
Protestants are worried about with Catholic. One of the things they don't like about Catholicism. So has anyone in your family or the friends that we talked about before, did they ever say that that was one of their objections to orthodoxy because they thought that you were going to be putting her, like worshiping her like you would Christ? Because I have heard that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, that conversation has always also allowed for the path to talk about the saints. Because, the truth is we're not worshiping Mary.
Mhm.
We do honor her and we have a reverence for her. And like, I explain everything I kind of just told you, but then it also opens the avenue to talk about, we venerate the icons of the saints. And Father Evan used this really beautiful example when he was discussing it with me that, if your grandmother was to pass or a family member that you really did love was to pass, and you had this photo of them up on your wall, and you occasionally would walk by it and touch it, or you'd pick it up or kiss it. And he's like, are you worshiping your grandmother in that situation? And I was like, no. And he's like, exactly. Like we love the saints and we love their life and we're thankful for them and we're not worshiping them, but we are thankful for them. And I felt like that was such, again, an easy answer to such a big question. And it was like, okay, well, and I have told so many people that same story. And I know that that's like one of the biggest thing that always comes up is the idea that we're worshiping these saints, we're worshiping the Theotokos.
Yeah.
We have graven images and icons and idols and all the things, which I was very hesitant to. So I totally get all of it. But every time I, have these discussions with people and they're just like, wow, that really helped. Thank you. Because it just,
Mhm.
it's like I said, it's just such an easy answer.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's so many great videos on YouTube about it too, because it is such a big common objection. And there have
Mhm.
been debates and videos. And yeah, I watched a lot of those in the beginning too, because I didn't come from a Christian upbringing or anything. I knew nothing about Christianity until about 2 years ago. And so for me, it really actually the icons and the Theotokos wasn't a big objection at all, actually. But I had some friends that it was an objection for. So it was like you said, it gives when people ask us questions, it gives us the opportunity to learn something new, learn it even in more depth than we did
Mhm.
before. So I did talk to my priest about it and started watching the videos and the debates and things online. And I I love the icons. I think they're beautiful. My church is amazing. What does it look like inside your church?
Well, we had the opportunity a few years ago to buy a larger building in town. We have really small, few icons on the wall. that were like in frames. And we started just wrapped at the same time, Ellen and I could. There was a huge like wave of people, and it hasn't really stopped, to be honest. So when we bought our building, we bought I can't remember if it was a Lutheran church, I believe. So it has like this old style, like pointed roof that's all wood inside. And we were going through renovation. We were hoping to put domes up and everything, and the city wouldn't allow it. So we do not have domes, which is very sad, but they were able to take down all the walls and rebuild them. And slowly but surely, we're filling it with iconography. So in each
Great.
installation, they have it on YouTube, our church's YouTube channel. So it's been fun.
Oh, oh, that's cool. We just got globes put on the top of our church a couple weeks ago, and
Okay.
it's been really exciting because it was like a 25-year long prayer to have them put
Mhm.
on, and they look so pretty. Or domes. What do you call it? A dome? Or
Yeah, the domes,
domes?
as if they're inside, if they're
Oh,
like
the dome.
outside.
Okay, these are outside. These are on top.
Okay, so are you at a Russian or OCA church?
It's Antiochian.
Oh, okay. Huh.
And
I
it
never
looks so
thought
cool now when we're coming down into the valley to
Mhm.
see them glistening in the sun. It
Oh,
is
that's awesome.
spectacular. And then I had some friends visiting, well, one friend from France visiting, and she and her sisters met me in town for my friend's birthday the other day, and we were walking along, and then we stopped, and I said, and over there is my church. And then I looked, and just seeing the golden globes, it was so special. And they're like, oh my gosh, that looks so cool.
That
So
is so exciting.
my
That's
my
awesome.
priest was saying the day that we kind of blessed them, and we had this special day for them before they
Mhm.
got put up on the building. He was saying that these are going to welcome people not just to our town, but invite people to come and visit the church, because it's going to be like, oh, what is that? That's so unique. I've never seen that. And it'll
Absolutely.
bring people in. So what do you think of, you mentioned that your church keeps growing, and what are your thoughts on why that would be? Why are people attracted to orthodoxy right now?
Well, I do want to like kind of tacking on to that idea of, like you said, your new domes and stuff, or whatever the actual term for them is. When we were going through our renovation, our new building was kind of like right in the middle of town, right across the street from the town's high school. And so it drew a lot of attention. People would be like, oh, that one that's going under the renovation by the high school. And like all of a sudden everybody knew about the church. And it was like, oh yeah, that's awesome that you know about it. Um, and that really was cool. But I think what's also drawing people, our parish, at least from what I've noticed, there's a lot of pastoral people coming and converting. So either pastoral kids, previous pastors, head pastors, kids pastors, whatever. It seems to be like this mass exodus. Um, and I can't say like for sure, obviously, what I think, like what's going on, but I have a similar feeling of like what happened to us is that, when life is, especially right now, life seems to be getting harder and not easier. And people just need more from their church and they need more from their faith. And the pep talk on Sunday mornings isn't really cutting it anymore. A lot of people are really interested in, these faiths or not denominations, because we're not a denomination, but they're looking into the denominations that are a lot older than the evangelical movement or Catholicism or Orthodoxy. And they're just really interested, I think, to find out like, how have these churches lasted so long?
Mhm.
Um, in the evangelical world, you see like these huge cycles of pastors all the time. And it gets exhausting, to be honest. When we were there for the short period of time that we were at our previous church, I think we cycled through like 5 pastors on the pastoral team. Our head pastor stayed the same, but the other pastors were coming and going, and it was like, what's going on? And I think that just raises questions, and that seems to be a trend from everybody that I've talked to, is that they're just confused. They feel like they don't belong. They feel like their faith is shallow, and they just are longing for more.
Mhm.
So,
I said earlier that I had no experience with Christianity, but I just remembered that I did go to kind of a mega church kind of place that my roommate at the time belonged to, and I was 24 years old, and I went more than once. I probably went 3 or 4 times, and I liked it. I liked the worship music. At that time I had been studying yoga and witchcraft and stuff like that for many years, but I just wanted to see, what is Christianity, what's it about. But I think the reason I didn't keep going is that there wasn't enough of a lifestyle to it. Like you said, like you come on Sunday to church, and it was really a kind of a social scene. My roommate at the time was looking for a husband, so she would
wow.
dress up and wear her heels, and she would be looking around, see who was there. And it didn't, and I like I said, I liked the music, but it wasn't enough to keep me. And like you said, it was a pep talk. I would leave there feeling really positive.
Mhm.
But what I love about the Orthodox Church, I mean, one of the things I can't say in a
Right.
nutshell what I love about the Orthodox Church, because I love everything, but it's that it's a lifestyle, and it's about transformation and becoming a better person and becoming more Christ-like. And the feast days and the calendar, it's so beautiful. It just kind of makes the cycle of the year an event of being part of the church, part of the family, the body of Christ. And I just wanted to mention that it's, oh, you said something in your video about the worship music, how, people have their hands up, and they have this huge desire and love for God to connect with him and worship him. And it was beautiful how you said there's nothing, we're not criticizing that at all. But
Mhm.
how would you explain the difference between when we go to liturgy, we have our eyes open, we're looking at the icons,
Mhm.
we're singing, and it's not this real emotional thing. Like, we do get emotional sometimes, but the
Right.
majority of the time we're not like, oh God, oh God, oh God, like hands up in the air. Because that must have been different for you, to just the way the liturgy is directed and organized. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, before we converted and before we helped with the church plant, my husband and I went to a mega church. So we went to New Life Church in Colorado Springs, and they had the Desperation Band, which is like a huge, well, at the time it was a huge worship band, and they would invite this other girl, her name's Carrie Job, all the time. And so there was all these concerts all the time. And Sunday morning was always like a rock concert, and it
Mhm.
was very emotional experience. And so when we moved up here to help with the church plant, it was like more acoustic, and it wasn't like the flashy strobe lights and everything. And so there was already this like, I can remember telling Nolan, like, oh, I kind of miss New Life, and I miss the worship style, because this doesn't feel as like, at the time I didn't, like, what wasn't using the words hype, but I wasn't getting hyped up enough. But I think that was like a good gradual transition, because I don't know how I could have done it if I came from like desperation band to liturgy. But during my conversion, when I was a catechumen, one of my friends who also converted, she was at the same church. And her and I both always told Father Evan, like, we just really miss worship music. And he's like, there's nothing wrong with you not listening to it. But I think that the longer that we were in Orthodoxy, we realized like the less we needed worship music. And it's not to say that we don't, like, I still listen to it occasionally, but I'm not engaged like I used to be. I'm not like raising my hands and, seeking God in it. I just appreciate the music for what it is. And I feel like it's good, clean music, compared to some other things that I could have on the radio. But I feel like there's, like you said, orthodoxy is a life, and it's not you just go to church and then you close that chapter of your life for the rest of the week and you go on and do your thing and then have to open it back up. And so there's like this slow rhythm to life, and you are walking with God in it, and you are saying your prayers daily. And if you're not, then that is an opportunity for you to go back and meet with God, and you have the saints alongside you. And I feel like there's just like this whole family, the routine of the church and the liturgical calendar, and your parish probably has multiple services throughout the week, or at least a Vesper service before liturgy. And I feel like there's just multiple opportunities. And so you're not having to like re-engage on Sunday morning because you've never left that. You've always been in like this different cycle. And so I don't know, I feel like as soon as you, for me, and this is what I tell some of my friends who are in the process, like as soon as you allow yourself to kind of step out of that and step into the reality of the Orthodox faith, and you allow yourself to be walking this journey daily, you will find that you don't need to go and seek God in music, because he's been with you every single day of every minute, and you're walking along that. You say your prayers throughout the day. And I think motherhood is a beautiful example of that. A lot of times prayer can be, washing the dishes, and it's a time for me to slow down when I'm folding my clothes to thank God for the blessings of my life and thank my children, because I went through all the infertility, and I'm folding little tiny human clothes right now, and I'm miserable folding all these clothes, but I thank God for me being here. And so I don't know, I don't think that you need worship music and worship in the Orthodox Church.
And is there anything you can share about marriage as an Orthodox couple, or even just as a Christian couple? It doesn't have to be specifically about Orthodoxy, but not to get too personal about your husband, but you haven't mentioned him too much. And I just wonder, are there things you share, like prayer or reading the Bible or anything like that in your marriage?
So this actually recently came up on my Instagram. I don't remember what the exact post was, but it was about like, having a healthy marriage in the church. And my husband and I do not pray together during prayer times. We do pray with our children and at meals together. And we discuss a lot throughout the week about the faith and different things that we're learning. We have a monastery trip planned this spring, and so we'll be going together, which I'm really excited about because that'll actually be my first monastery trip. But I know that some couples do pray together. For us personally, I pray over my husband in my prayers. There's marriage prayers, and we're very open. We have a good line of communication about that. And so I think it's just up to whoever to talk about that, like with their spouse, on whether they want to be together in prayer or they want to be separate. But yeah, also I wanted to say, like, when we converted, I was very excited to have an Orthodox ceremony. So my priest got the blessing from our bishop, and we were able to have like our marriage sacrament service done. So I got to get married again.
Oh my gosh, you did.
It was fun. I loved it.
So cool. Wow, that's amazing. Do you have any pictures of that on Instagram?
It's actually the store. I think it's the picture for my third part of my conversion story.
Oh, okay.
There's a huge group shot. I was actually pregnant with my second child during it. And so my priest teased me. He's like, you're supposed to get pregnant after the wedding ceremony.
How cute.
But it was just a really beautiful, I think we were really excited to like welcome in this new, because the Orthodox Church views marriage a little bit differently than most people. And so it was a beautiful sacrament that we were able to welcome into our marriage. And we moved our rings to our right hand, and we did
Uh-huh.
all things. We have marriage sponsors, and I felt like it was just a deepening of our marriage, and it kind of helped us actually to get on the same page of some things that we had struggled with
Mm,
previously. So
that's awesome. So, I always like to ask my guests if there's a book they might recommend to new people to Orthodoxy, or if not, you could talk about a specific saint, maybe your patron saint or anything like that that you want to share with us.
so the first book that I ever read as a catechumen was Facing East by Frederica's Matthews Green. Um, I love that book. I loved how, and I think it's like either the introduction or the first chapter, how she was talking about standing in a Vesper service and questioning, like, why do we stand the entire time? My feet hurt. Like, why do we have all these pews if we never use them? And I was like, yes, thank you. Someone is addressing the elephant in the room. And I just felt like it was such a relatable book. It was good. We have an entire stack. I'm like sitting next to my book stack right now because we're in the process of building a huge book thingy behind us. Um, but there's a ton of books. This book, I actually happen to have it next to me right now, is my prayer book that I use. And I think for all stages of motherhood and like young mothers or women, I mean, who are wanting to be mothers eventually, this book really helped me learn about the prayers of the Orthodox Church. And there's discussions in there. Annalisa Boyd is actually a parishioner at our church. And so
Oh,
it's
wow.
nice to get to talk to her about some of these things. But
Wow.
it's just like this really, I think, neat experience to be able to have like these prayers of motherhood in different stages. There's prayers for infertility and prayers for the dead in there. There's prayers for, if you're pregnant or trying to conceive, prayers for your children who eventually, if they want to become a priest. I feel like it's just a great book for all stages of life. And I've used this book to send several catechumens prayers if they say, like, I don't know where to start, or this is what I'm struggling with, or I struggle to pray to the saints. And I might send them an example from that. And then I think they can, it's a tangible way for them to see, like, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it was.
And then, do you have a patron saint?
Yeah, my patron saint is Saint Hannah, and the prophetess. She was the mother of Samuel. I feel like, I know that, you hear the story sometimes. I feel like she chose me. So while I was going through all of my infertility journey, I can remember just like sobbing on my bedroom floor and feeling like an idiot because I'm sobbing over this infertility journey. But also remembering her and her story and her sobbing and people thinking that she was drunk because she was crying so hard, and being comforted. And so like when we were, first in the beginning of our catechumen process, the topic of patron saints came up. And Father Evan asked me, like, if you were to ever choose a saint, who would that be? And I was like, oh, Saint Hannah. And my husband was like, what? Like he was the one like person, interested in Orthodoxy. And here I am like already like, oh yeah, I would choose her. And so I don't know. I feel like sometimes, saints choose you and choose the
Mhm.
perfect saint for infertility. And obviously I've been blessed with 3 beautiful boys now.
Oh, and what are their ages again?
Hudson, my oldest, is 6. Athen is 4, and August is 3.
Oh, cute names too.
Thank you. Well, the youngest 2 have patron saints, Saint Athanasios and Saint Augustine.
Okay, okay.
We just made them a little bit more Americanized so that they.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. And then one more thing that came to my mind about the feast days, I've noticed on some of the ladies' accounts on Instagram that they bake certain things. There's like certain special recipes.
Yeah.
So what's something, maybe there's something that I could put a link in the description for a recipe for something for the upcoming Advent?
So yeah, I would recommend actually following either Destiny at Ascetic Life's Motherhood, or Perusia Press. They post all of these really gorgeous, beautiful recipes all the time. I myself am not a baker. I have tried and I am just, I bake Fanny Ropita and it is not amazing. The Fanny Ropita is to Saint Honorios. So if you, he's the patron saint of lost things. So if you lose something, you ask for his prayers and to help you find the item. And when you find it, you're supposed to bake this little orange cake thing. And mine are never turned out good, but I love seeing all of their stuff. So
Well, keep trying. Don't give up. Maybe
yeah,
it just takes practice.
my kids are like, can we bake this? I'm like, sure, let's go make a mess in the kitchen. But it is fun to do it with them. So at least there's joy in that. But yes, I'm always impressed by all of the Orthodox women's abilities to bake these really amazing things.
Mhm.
They're powerful women.
Yeah, I'm gonna start trying to. I myself, I got into baking about 12 years ago. Martha Stewart was really popular at that time, and all of her show, I would like try to copy her, make the things that she was baking, and then somehow I got out of it, but I want to start getting back into it. So
You should also see if there's an opportunity for you to bake the prospero for liturgy. So, like our parish, they go around the church like once a year and kind of have like signups. And then they give you like the instructions and the little stamp for it. So you don't have to have your own. But then it just gives, each family like an opportunity to try baking the prospero. And yeah.
did not know that. We make the gowns, but for the baptism, there's a group of ladies that make those. And just as one example of ways to get involved with the church, I'm slowly getting, it's at first it's so overwhelming. I'm in catechism and I'm trying to
Yeah.
learn so much stuff. And then, all these books, these books here are probably, I don't know, a fifth of the books that I bought. And but I was telling my friend today too that the Bible is really what my soul is craving right now. So I'll even start reading one of these books and then I'll realize I really want to be reading the Bible right now. So I'm probably never even going to get through all these books.
Do you
But
have the Orthodox Study Bible?
yes, I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And when my friends who are new to Orthodoxy tell me that their Orthodox Study Bible arrived in the mail, they're like so excited, and I'm so excited for them too. And it's just been really,
Yeah, I love how they break it down in there, and I feel like it helps everyone really just understand the context so
yeah.
much better.
Oh
'Cause
yeah, it made such a huge difference because I used to read the NIV,
yeah,
and we don't want to come up with our own
interpret.
interpretations. And not only that, I sometimes have to read the same verse 5 times and I couldn't even come up with my own interpretation. And then I got the Orthodox Study Bible and it just makes it so much easier. And then I love how it'll reference Old Testament scripture that relates, or if you're reading the Old Testament, it'll have something about Christ that it's so deep and so much fun. And
There is so many things in the Orthodox Church that I've learned, like Mary's song. So I guess I don't know if you've ever like read that. There's a passage called Mary's Song, but there's also Saint Hannah's song. And it was like a foreshadowing to Mary and her journey. And
Yes.
there's so many like foreshadowing things, and even like the hymns in the church. I think it's at Christmas time or something. I'll have to ask my husband. He's better at this than I am. But there's a shift in the music to start like this preparation for Lent, actually. And so you'll
It's the
start
tone, right? They change the tone.
the tones
Yeah.
change
Yeah.
in preparation for Lent. And so I just love like all the little subtleties that the church has and that the Bible has that I never even knew about.
Mhm. I know, and you've been a Christian your whole life and you're still learning and you're going to continue learning. I mean, there's
So I love it because it's just like, you're never going to get tired of it. Someone asked me that the other day. They're like, are you ever just tired of doing the same thing over and over again? I'm like, no. No, because you can never stop learning. You will never learn enough or know enough or have arrived. You'll never get there.
It's so deep. It's just so deep.
Yeah. So,
well, this has been so much fun. Is there anything else you wanted to share? Any final words or anything for new people, or I don't know?
I think just if you're new, keep talking to your priests, keep learning, ask the hard questions, even if they're weird, and be patient with yourself because it is a journey and not everybody's looks the same. But I'm very excited for everybody on this journey because I truly believe that the Orthodox Church is the right place to be, and it is this beautiful journey and beautiful example of life. And also happy nativity season to everybody. And I hope that you all have a beautiful and blessed Advent.
Oh, Amanda, you're just a lovely sister. I'm really happy we met.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be on my show.
Of course. Have a great day.
And to my audience, just a couple last things. I've not said anything about accepting donations, but I am going to start putting a link in the description for anybody who would like to support this channel. I don't get any revenue from YouTube ads or anything like that. And I pretty much have devoted my days to working on this channel, and my computer is about ready to die. I've had it for a really long time. I will not be recording these interviews on my phone. So once my computer dies, then I'm going to have to buy a new one. So if you would like to support even $1, $5, or just leave a comment for me in the comments, because that really helps with the algorithm, and then more people will start seeing my videos. That is even better, no pressure at all to contribute, but I am, now that I've done 20, this is my 21st show on this channel, and I have no intention of stopping. So the only way I can do that is with the right equipment. So thank you guys so much for sharing, liking, subscribing, and I will see you guys next time. Bye and God bless.
Bye.